Last year, Americans ate 32 billion chicken wings. Who knows just how many helpless sides of celery were heartlessly thrown away? But this year, celery neglect can stop with you and irresistible Jif peanut butter. Because you can make a snack to make a difference. You can buy a jar of Jif to save the celery. So please, don't let celery be decoration for wings. Tap the banner to save the celery.
Now streaming on Hulu, a wicked true crime.
It was a kidnapping, torture case.
A crime of greed and cruelty.
The men tortured the victim by beating, tasing, and burning him.
But it didn't end there.
And this is where it gets really horrible. The guy was cutting off my roommate's penis. It was like a bad dream.
This crime was horrific.
He's a psychopath.
Wicked Game, Devil in the Desert.
This was a story about greed, sadism, evil.
Now streaming only on Hulu.
You can support this podcast at patreon.com/partnersincrimemedia.
I'm Rebecca Lavoie, and this is Crime Writers On. Crime Writers On is the original true crime review podcast that digs into true crime, pop culture, other podcasts. And on this episode, a mommy vlogger's YouTube channel took off when she documented the adoption of a boy from China. But viewers became alarmed when the child abruptly disappeared from her videos. We'll talk about the HBO original series and update on our family. Joining me to get that done and more is true crime author, TV journalist, and host of These Are Stories podcast, my husband, a love of my life, and the person I would definitely family vlog with, Kevin Flynn. Hi, Kevin.
What other choice do you have? You ask your ex-husband to come back, and so you're like, hey, let's just start.
That would be a fucking amazing family vlog. Like the exes, that would be incredible. That's actually happening right now on The Flip Off, which is an HGTV show. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Also with us is private investigator, certified pet detective, resident cat lady, and author of the Piper Green series of cozy mysteries, Laura Bricker. Hi, Laura.
Hey, Rebecca.
And finally, our resident Doubting Thomas, author of the City Trilogy of novels, host of Rip Current Strange Arrivals, our Patreon Deep Dive Book Club podcast host, my favorite LinkedIn snack, Toby Ball. Hi, Toby.
Hey, Rebecca.
You're a LinkedIn snack. I love it.
His profile is very appealing. What can I say?
If only I was 12 years younger.
It's okay. All of my pictures, our photographer who did our headshots a million years ago, when I was like 35, wrote to me today, texted me, and sent me a picture of his new marketing materials. And he was like, I'm using your headshot on my marketing materials. I was like, please, please do. I look amazing.
I am insane. Like, I take the worst freaking pictures
Me too.
in the world. It's terrible. Like, my entire family knows it. And it's just like, keep it running, and maybe my face will like have a normal expression for like a second, and you can use that shot.
Yeah.
So I just like, if I get a good one, it ends up being up there for like a decade.
Everything.
Yeah.
Alan Marsh makes fun of Kevin for when in his selfies and iPhone photos, he doesn't quite look at the camera.
Yeah.
So he has this like thing where he's sort of looking at the camera, but then his eyes are like a little bit dead, like a shark. Every single time Kevin posts a photo on social media, every single time.
It's not the camera. My eyes are dead.
She texts me and is like, do I need to talk to Kevin about this again?
Well, you know what, Kevin? Apparently you're never going to be a family vlogger with a proper lighting and camera angle at the rate you're going.
Nope, not at this rate.
Absolutely not. All right, so
Who
Kevin
wants to watch me like clean the counter?
Everyone. That is foreplay, Kevin.
No, that's foreplay. All right.
You cleaning pots, you cooking, you vacuuming, you doing it'll make so many women so hot for you. Makes me so hot for you watching you do housework, you know?
Yeah.
It's incredible. All right, Kevin, what's coming up?
Is it the French maid outfit I'm wearing when I do it?
No, it's not. Okay. It's the fact that you're doing it and not complaining and not asking me how. Like, you're so competent. Except with laundry. It's incredible. All right, so Kevin.
How do I wash these glasses?
This is Thursday's program.
It is.
What's coming up on Monday's show?
On Monday, we're talking about the podcast Lords of Death.
What the fuck? Lords of Death?
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
You just have to wait and see. It's from Tenderfoot TV.
Oh, can I just say a couple quick things?
Mm-hmm.
There's a new podcast out from Campside Media, Tenderfoot TV, and Wondery. And it's called We Came to the Forest. We are not going to be reviewing it on the show, even though it is a hit podcast and is going to be very popular.
Why is that?
We are not reviewing it on this show because my son, Henry Lavoie, is a producer on We Came to the Forest, and it would be weird to review a show that my son produced. But it's hosted by Matt Scher, one of my favorite podcasters. He made Suspect Season 1. He's just truly an excellent journalist, and I got to hear a lot about the backstory of it when Henry was working on it, and I really recommend listening to it because it's good, and Henry worked on it, and you can listen to the credits, and you can hear his name among podcast royalty, like Donald Albright and Payne Lindsay and all the Wondery people, and Matt Scher and Henry Lavoie. It's very exciting, right?
That's awesome.
We're so proud.
We're so proud. But anyway, listen to We Came to the Forest. Check it out. I recommend it. All right, Kevin.
We were going to rehouse him, and then we didn't have to. We didn't have to give him up for adoption.
No, we decided to make him a Nepo podcast baby instead.
Duct tape his ass, and then
I'm going to duct tape his headphone ears. Duct tape headphones to his ears to make sure he stays in the business, All right, Kevin. We actually have something very interesting to talk about. I'm really excited to talk about it. Should we start that?
Let's do it.
Leading off.
Online, fans get mad. But I've never seen people get so angry about something.
Myka and James Stauffer built a popular and profitable YouTube channel featuring hundreds of videos of their children and home life. Then, in 2017, after the Stauffers revealed they were adopting a boy from China, subscriptions to their channel really took off.
Today, I get to share with you a picture of my new son, which is awesome.
Up until this point, people were just dying to know the next thing, refreshing their pages. It was like they're presenting him to us finally, like all of his fans, and it was kind of like they were giving him to us.
Viewers were drawn in by the family's breezy efforts to address the toddler's developmental issues. Then, past videos of the boy were abruptly gone from the feed and he no longer appeared in the vlog. The mystery around the move sparked a huge backlash, with many criticizing Myka's motives and fearing for the child's well-being.
This child could be in complete danger. She could have sold him. She could have buried him in the backyard after getting too mad at him one time.
Maybe Huxley was just passed along on a Facebook group, which is considered trafficking.
They've even told their children that he was going to kill them in their sleep.
The HBO original series, An Update on Our Family, recounts the controversy around the Stauffers and accusations they adopted a child just for the clicks. It also explores the issues about privacy on the internet, the nuances of transnational adoption, and the unregulated industry of monetizing one's family. Spoiler alert, we're going to be talking about plot points from An Update on Our Family. So if you want to remain spoiler-free, go to the estimated time code in our show notes for our thumbs up or thumbs down reviews. Now, Laura?
Yeah.
Before you disclose what you have to disclose, I will disclose that I was once the host of a parenting podcast on Slate called Mom and Dad Are Fighting. I was a co-host on that show. And you could make the argument that I was monetizing our kids on that show. I also used to write a column for the Concord Monitor about our family. For a short period of time, I made $90 a column. It was a real moneymaker. But we talked about that in the after show. So I would check that out on our Patreon, sort of where our boundaries are. But Laura, you have a disclosure to make as well.
Yeah, no, I used to write a mommy blog when my son was little for the local newspapers. It was like Mom's the Word, I think it was called. I can't even remember. It was a while ago.
That's a good name, actually.
Yeah, Mom's the Word. And it was when my son was young, and it was like a balance because I felt like people related to things, because I would write about things like not like, oh, everything's perfect. I'd write about like all the things that we like secretly bitched about behind the scenes. And then people would be like, I feel so validated. I feel so seen. But as he got older, and I also used to write a column in the newspaper when I was pregnant. Yeah. So for years.
What was that called?
I can't remember what that was.
Lego My Prego.
But I literally chronicled going into labor when I was at the Da Vinci Code, and the column was called the Da Vinci Contractions. And so when my son got to, he was little, I remember with the festival trees in Exeter the first year, and people were like, oh my God, this is the baby, total strangers. And so my son still is like, seriously, Mom, everyone knows who I am because of you.
Yeah. Surprised baby wasn't called Dan Brown.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there certainly are parallels between what those family vloggers are doing and what we do. we're also self-employed and we're monetizing comment that's informed by our real lives and our personalities.
We lean into our personalities.
And we share things about our lives and our families, right? I mean, I think what's different here is that their personal lives are the content.
Yeah.
Right? And while we talk about our kids on occasion, we aren't putting them on camera. We're not putting them on mic.
And we always ask.
And if we do, it isn't also like that's the whole thing. So I guess it's like a matter of degrees, however, I would just say like, yeah, I can relate to some of that.
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad. We were just joking last week where, Henry got engaged. We shared it on the podcast, and they understand that, like, hey, you marry into this family, you marry into the show, and that's, but we also, we know the things about each other's lives that aren't on the podcast, too.
100%.
So anyway, again, we'll probably get into that in the after show. But yeah, I mean, I think that I got to be careful about like which stones to throw because there are things here that like we also do.
Right.
But this is a different level. And of course, what happened with this particular family is unique.
So Hannah Cho is one of the people whose perspective is sort of heavily represented in the documentary. Hannah Cho is an adoptee from Korea. She is also a vlogger. She's a beauty vlogger, which is something I learned after I looked into her a little bit after watching this. But she provides a lot of explanation at the beginning. You can argue too long. The first episode might be like too much of this, but she does provide a thorough explanation of why it is that these channels exist, who watches them, why you watch them, how you get into them, and like how they work. So Toby, was this a subculture that you knew about before watching this documentary?
I did not. As a matter of fact, I don't think I even really knew about vlogs.
Oh.
I thought it was like something from 15 years ago. But I watched like the first 10 minutes and then I was like, I just can't do this. So I watched Little Hoops, realizing that I was going to have to watch even more the next day. But then once I started watching it, and it went from being like, oh, I got to watch these family vloggers, like I can't imagine. And it sort of leans more into the whole subculture aspect of it. Then it became interesting, at least as far as I was concerned, because, the actual content of these videos, I've found it kind of grim and depressing, but just sort of like learning what the norms and mores are of this like weird little subculture and it's just what people are doing and what the consequences are and how it all works. I thought that was pretty interesting. And I think Hannah, again, it was sort of the same thing where at the beginning I'm like, oh my God, like she's really spending all this time watching this. Like, why do I want to hear from her? But as it kind of goes on, I thought she was pretty insightful about a lot of the stuff.
You feel like you're a part of their family almost in a way. It sounds weird, and I don't want to sound like some crazy stalker or something, because I know that obviously they don't know me, but you're watching them. They feel so authentic, and they're literally a part of your life every day.
Later, she's able to sort of identify some of the issues with this adoption that I think were completely beyond the adoptive parents' understanding of what was going on. So in the end, I mean, she's kind of the star of this, I would say.
Yeah.
And I think with good reason, she comes off, I thought, as being a compelling voice in a sort of situation that is about as far from my experiences as it gets in this country.
Yeah, it's interesting. She is very interesting because she has all these layers to her. She is also probably the kindest to the Stauffers at points, even as she is pointing out everything they did wrong. Like she is saying, she kind of gives them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. Like she really comes at it from a very honest and kind place, which is why I liked her so much. We also have a couple on the documentary who has a family vlog, this very like Christian couple who lives in this big house and is talking about how they make it, how they do it, how they monetize it, how you have to give the videos like exciting titles in order for the algorithm to pick them up. And they give you this inside view. So you're tempted to judge them, but they're also the ones giving you the information that like kind of provides context here. Laura, what did you think about the sourcing in this series?
Well, I thought it was interesting. Like, Toby, I didn't realize this was such a thing. Like, I was like, oh, vlogs went out with blogs. Like, that's something that's outdated. But to see just the level of sponsorship and monetization and how popular it is, because I'm like, I can't imagine just being like, oh, I got to get up and watch the like Toby Ball family channel today. Like, I want to see what the updates are. But then when they were talking about like, oh, they made like the Huxley playlist. And like when you make a playlist, that bumps you up in the settings. And then the other people that were capitalizing on it by doing their response videos into what we'll get into later. And so then when you look up this family now, they all show up and they're getting all the hits. And I'm like, well, in a way, we kind of do some of that because we're like, oh, we're going to review this podcast because it's top in the charts. And then that's going to get us seen. And I'm like, okay, so, to each their own. I think for me, and I didn't say this before when I was talking about like when I used to do the blogging, I think the difference for me when I see the vlogging, it feels like a little more narcissistic watching it to me.
Huh. Yeah, I think it feels like reality TV. And I think you overestimate people's interest in like things because I mean the vlogs are not that different than watching the Kardashians or one of the other reality TV shows with just people sitting around. I love reality TV. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not into this content.
No, yeah.
But I could imagine a time in my life where I may have been. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like I could imagine really getting into a vlog. I mean, I've watched unboxing stuff. There are things that I have seen and watched. You watch the guys who listen to a song for the first time, the twins,
reaction
the
videos,
new trend.
Yeah.
Like that's a vlog and they're really fun. But Kevin, this actually goes into a lot of layers and issues beyond just the family vlogging and the ethics of it, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm glad that this series went into all of those different issues, vlogging, adoption, the ethics around the family content, history of YouTube, digital culture. I love when they talk about the algorithm. I always picture it with a capital A, the deity that is the almighty algorithm that everybody is trying to appease. I'm glad they covered all the different things that they did. I wish they kind of moved through them a little quicker. Because when we get to the end of the first episode, it feels like, oh man, we haven't really made a lot of progress in the central narrative here. So, I wish maybe that airtime could have been used a little more for that. Or maybe this is really 2 episodes and not 3 or whatever. But that's just sort of my thing. I always think about, Toby talks about, this raised a lot of questions, but it didn't examine them. And I'm glad that, from my perspective, it did think about a lot of the different things and talk to people that could speak to certain aspects that one who is just watching for the click maybe doesn't think about. So I did like all of the details that it did provide.
So, Toby, I talked a couple minutes ago about, the appeal of these, and you have some really interesting observations about how storylines are built in these vlogs. Can you just talk about what you saw and what you received from the content that you saw being made in this content?
Well, I think there's a couple of things that kind of go on. And one is that, it's like it tracks it a lot, like in TV, where for a sitcom or whatever, you'll have a whole bunch of just sort of normal random shows. But at a point when you need to gin up some excitement, I think the classic one is to have a wedding. Like they did on Schitt's Creek or whatever. So it feels like you have sort of the same dynamic going here, which is people are psyched to watch you, play with your kids and have a birthday party and clean the dishes or whatever the hell it is you have to be doing. But there is a point at which you have to move the narrative along from this is the way my day is going to what's the next plot twist. And it seems from this, the big plot twist is another kid. So it's the best thing I think is you get pregnant and then you have 6 or 7 months of just content about you getting bigger and how psyched you are and you're doing the nursery and, all your friends are so psyched. And then you actually have the baby and then you have even more content. It makes sense. And I don't see why I would have thought that wouldn't be the way it would work. But it was kind of interesting hearing this. And I think there are times when they're like, oh, well, it's so real. They're not afraid to show the bad things. And it's well, they're showing the bad stuff that they're willing to show you.
Yeah, the curated bad stuff.
They're not having nasty marital fights on camera.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, and again, that's about the narrative. That's about nobody wants to see people who are fucking doing great all the time. There's no tension there. There's no whatever. So you also show these difficult moments, but that reflect well on you. And the way you handle it or make people feel badly for you or whatever, because as you see later, if there's a bad moment and you do not seem to be handling it well, people just jump all over you. So the idea that it's reality, I guess in the same way these reality TV shows seem like they're reality, is not only are they sort of manipulating the face they're showing to the public, but they also have to kind of like manipulate their own lives in order to create the content that they can show to the public. So it's like this weird sort of feedback loop where you kind of wonder, like, what would these families be like if they weren't vlogging? Would they have all these kids? Would they be doing all these different things? Or have they just adjusted their life?
They wouldn't be living in giant houses, that's for sure.
Yeah, but have they just adjusted their life so that it's sort of camera ready?
Yeah. So, Kevin, should I get pregnant to get people to join our Patreon?
Absolutely, you should.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Yes. It could be like my late in life miracle pregnancy.
I don't know if it'll happen, but I think we should just keep trying until we pass out.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
What level would that be?
That's a big level.
Are we in the business section?
Yeah. Well, you put us here, Rebecca.
Yeah, we're in the business section. I'm not going to get pregnant, by the way. I'm full like menopause right now.
Yeah, but I'll try. Yeah. I'll try for $5,000 a month.
Me too. I just went to pick up estrogen and they said, we have to have a consult before you can take your prescription. I said, why? To tell me it could give me cancer? They said, no. To ask if you could be pregnant. And I'm like, that ship has sailed.
Yeah.
That's why I'm taking this.
Yeah. So speaking of TMI, we've got exclusive podcasts where we talk about whatever we want to talk about on the Crime Writers on After Show, and we're actually talking about this issue.
Yeah.
Talking about the privacy of our own lives. Where do we want to draw the line? And what are we okay with sharing with you?
Yeah.
Because it's the shit you like, apparently. Apparently, you are really interested in Laura's estrogen level.
Oh, I'm interested in Laura's estrogen.
Yeah.
You taking 0.5 or 1 milligram?
I don't know. I don't even know. But you can get a test kit to tell you where you are in the menopause journey.
Cool.
Toby, that's you and I. We're doing that at the $7 level.
Nice.
Toby and I will test our estrogen levels. Other great podcasts, though, you really actually can listen to on Patreon include Married with Podcast, our marriage advice podcast.
It's incredible.
Which, again, just sounds a lot more like a family vlog.
Totally.
Than anything
We're
else.
hypocrites.
Rebecca's obsession happens to be the Karen Reed trial, and she's got her Readathon podcast. Laura Bricker has the Leave It to Bricker podcast, where she solves mysteries, or at least mysteries to her, in her quaint AF town of Exeter, New Hampshire. And Toby Ball has his Toby Ball's Deep Dive Book Club. On the next episode, Toby is going to be talking with Simone Paget, Justine Vanderloon, and Kimberly Griffin. What's the book you're going to be discussing?
It's called Murder in the Bayou.
In the Bayou. Not on the Bayou, in the Bayou.
Apparently, they were actually in the Bayou when it happened, and it's by a guy named Ethan Brown.
Fantastic. Other ways you can support us is we have, you ready for the influencer part of the business section?
Yes. Okay. Hey. I just want to say we are not rich. We do not live in a gigantic house. Now, talking about the influencer part of the business section.
Okay. Well, you can check out some of our favorite things and then purchase them, and we get a small commission for that.
Like 5 cents.
Yes. We earn the commissions on things at our Amazon storefront, and Amazon says, hey, Crime Writers On, what are some of your favorite things? So if you go to Amazon.com/shop/Crime Writers On, you can see our Amazon recommendations. Rebecca, what are this week's Amazon recommendations?
I've got a good one.
Yeah?
And I've been telling you about it all week. So I just recently got my nails polished for the very first time. Got my first ever manicure. And I now love having my nails done because they're so neat and clean, and my hands don't look like garbage anymore because I'm getting older and my nails have gotten really thin. But I don't like the way when you polish your nails, it only lasts for one day. So I went on the internet, went to Wirecutter, blah, 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 and I found this manicure set called Manicurist, which is an at-home gel manicure that isn't really gel. It's actually kind of good for you. It's not bad for your nails. Anyway, they sell the Manicurist polishes for this kit on Amazon, so I can get whatever colors I want super fast. So Manicurist Green Lightning nail polish, I think Green Flash, Green Lightning, I don't know, is what I'm buying on Amazon these days. I love it.
And Toby, what are your listener-inspired Toby Ball's deep cut recommendations?
Well, I'm very excited about this first one, and I'll tell you why after I tell you what it is. It's the Can You Survive the Great San Francisco Earthquake? An interactive history adventure. You choose disasters in history. And I'll tell you why I'm so excited about that one. It's because I actually did survive an earthquake earlier this week.
That's right.
There was an earthquake on the East Coast. The epicenter was actually about 20 miles from my house.
It was wild.
And it was so loud. And my house shook. I thought the furnace was exploding.
That's what my friend thought too.
Yeah, I mean,
I was in the basement when it happened. I was right here in the studio. It was so loud.
It was incredibly loud, and I was just like, "Oh fuck! There goes our house and all our possessions." And anyway.
You should have been more worried about the nuclear power plant.
Makes
Toby.
me think that I could pretty clearly survive the San Francisco earthquake, even though it was a lot bigger. Because I survived that very, very easily.
Yes.
Toby, I am happy about my new Amazon purchase.
What is it?
It's supposedly, I don't know, my friend and I had one too many glasses of wine the other night, and we bought these things that are supposed to condition your face to get rid of your sagging middle-aged chin. So I am going to wear this. And it cost, it's 2-pack. It costs $7, so I'm sure it's going to work really, really well.
Yeah. Get rid of your chin for $7.
So it's the idea that you wear it and then you get rid of your chin and then you take it off and it's gone.
Yeah, it's like the binding for your chin.
Or do you have to wear it all the time and then people won't be able to see your chin?
I think you wear it when you sleep. It says, "We love your face."
Like geisha face mask?
Yeah, it's like a cincher for your face. You put it on.
We love your face as ours. Perfect V-line, anti-aging, anti-wrinkles.
As she puts on her readers to read the thing.
Made in China. Warning, not suitable for children under 36 months.
That's fine.
One child needs their chin removed.
Honestly, all those babies, they got fat fucking chins.
They do, yeah.
They could use that shit.
Yeah.
That's fine. What I was going to say, which is a little more badass, is the Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2 for the PlayStation 5.
Oh. Wow. The Warhammer.
That Warhammer does not wear a fucking chin removal bandage.
Doesn't want your chin. This is going to blow it right off.
That's right, man.
Yeah,
chiseled out of granite. Granite doesn't sag.
So get all of our stupid influence stuff at amazon.com/shop/crime writers.
And you can buy other Amazon
commissions
stuff
on
there, too.
qualified purchases.
Yeah, just go there and buy all your Amazon shit and use our link. That's what we're asking you to do, basically. You don't have to buy the mask. All right, Kevin, before we end the business section, do we have any Patreon patron saints of the week this week?
Our Patreon patron saints are Jack Larkovec and Josh Reinitz. Bless you.
Jack, we've got 2 dudes as our saints this week. I love that for us. Congratulations on being chosen and anointed as saints this week. Thank you so much for supporting us on Patreon, and thanks to everybody who supports us there. We super appreciate it. We love all of our listeners, but those Patreon people, they special. All right, Kevin, does that end the business section?
Thus ends the business section.
I'm going to go ahead and fade that music out right now. All right, Kevin, let's finish up our discussion.
Yeah, because we got to make dinner.
We do?
Yeah, we almost never have time for dinner, and that's why HelloFresh is so fantastic.
Oh, HelloFresh.
So you can skip the grocery store and make cooking at home easy, fun, and affordable with HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. Of course, it's delivered right to your door. But what we like about it is that you don't have to take too much time to make it. Now, of course, they got all sorts of great recipes, like the pork sausage spaghetti bolognese.
Ooh, my
It's in
favorite.
their Hall of Fame. Very easy to make. You got a little extra time. You want to put that effort into the gingery coconut chicken soup.
So good.
Sometimes, though, you just got to get it done, right? Because you've been podcasting all day. So HelloFresh's prep and bake meals come together within 5 minutes of prep, while HelloFresh's 15-minute meals are done in just 3 simple steps.
Incredible.
So you can finish up what you're doing. You can put some great food on the table. Remember, all the time, though, you also save from, grocery shopping.
Oh, yeah, Kevin, there's so many great options here.
Yeah, and you can get up to 10 free meals with a free high-protein item for life at HelloFresh.com/CWO10FM.
Okay, CWO10FM.
Yeah, for 10 free meals. 1 item per box with active subscription. Free meals applied as discount on first box. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. That's up to 10 free HelloFresh meals. Just go to HelloFresh.com/CWO10FM.
CWO10FM.
Last year, Americans ate 32 billion chicken wings. Who knows just how many helpless sides of celery were heartlessly thrown away? But this year, celery neglect can stop with you and irresistible Jif peanut butter. Because you can make a snack to make a difference. You can buy a jar of Jif to save the celery. So please, don't let celery be decoration for wings. Tap the banner to save the celery.
So, Kevin, who's our next sponsor?
Oh, we're brought to you by Quince.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, with the new year comes a new opportunity to reimagine ourselves and, more importantly, our wardrobes.
Incredible.
Refresh your look with quality pieces and stay on budget with Quince. You know what happens in January?
What?
We talk about all the things that we wanted for Christmas but never got, so we buy it for ourselves.
Yes.
That includes high-quality clothes, things that look good, feel good, and you can get that from Quince.
Kevin, I am a Quince fanatic.
You are.
I have multiple items in multiple colors of the same item from Quince. I love their cashmere sweaters.
They're cozy Mongolian cashmere sweaters.
Incredible sweaters at a great price.
Yeah, they're always priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands, and they're able to do that by partnering directly with top factories, cutting out the cost of the middleman. No middleman.
I love how they actually show you, Kevin. Mm-hmm. They actually show you like what it would cost if you bought it somewhere else, like from the same place. It's incredible. So upgrade your closet this year without that upgraded price tag. Go to quince.com/crime for 365-day returns plus free shipping on your order. That's QUINCE.com/crime to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/crime. Okay, Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
Myka Stauffer, when all this stuff happens, gets most of the online hate. Did that surprise you?
No, it didn't surprise any of the other women who were in the documentary either.
But also people blamed Myka a lot more than James, which isn't surprising if you've been a woman. Of course, people were going to blame the mom more, basically saying he was the good guy and she was the bad guy, which there was no evidence for.
I kind of think she deserves the shade she gets, but no one should be surprised that James, the husband, gets a little bit of a pass from the public because
he still has his YouTube channel with 1.25 million followers.
Yeah, I mean, he's like tinkering with cars or whatever the hell. But, I can kind of see why like people, whatever. But what are you going to do? I mean, that's kind of like what happens. There is a bit of, as I'm watching this, and so I have not been exposed to hundreds of hours of her videos, but for Myka, there seems to be a little bit of vapidness to her, like her explanations for like why she wants to adopt a child, and then maybe adopt another one. Just like they don't like seem like a real person's. She's got like this very wholesome appearance, and you're right, talking about let's figure out what the best thumbnail image is. So it's like a lot of her like standing there with her mouth wide open instead of a smile. Like I don't know, like who thought that would be funny? And I guess I'm like supposed to like hate the game and not hate the player, but it just makes it easier to dunk on the family later on when all this shit comes out.
Well, I would say it's hard to put a certain brand out there, which is all about how much you love your children.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, that's their whole brand, right? Is fun times with their kids. And then one of their kids it feels like, I will say, to loyal followers, it probably felt like a betrayal. Mm-hmm. Similar storylines have played out in the podcasting community for sure.
Yeah. But I'll just say, if you look at all those thumbnails, it isn't like parent. It was like Huxley. So this kid is the star.
Right.
Right? This 3-year-old, 4-year-old who ends up having severe developmental issues, they're like, you can see why there's a lot on the line when you decide that kid's not coming back for season 7.
Right. But Laura, the hate that this family ended up getting because of some tweets and stuff, it really amplified. Hannah Cho talks about it. We hear it from a couple of people in the documentary who are very sort of like anti-Stauffer. They even talk about the extreme degree to which this hate happened. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so that's the thing here. Is like, regardless of what they did, giving up Huxley, whether it was right, whether it was wrong, whether you agree or you don't agree, I think the level of backlash that they got and the bullying and the real life bullying and the fact that they had to move and the fact that people sent police to their house and then the reaction videos that people did.
Failure as a mom, failure as a human being.
You should be ashamed of yourself. Both you and your fucking husband.
These people are selfish, greedy fucking pigs.
Yeah, the internet was pissed.
I get it. But I'm like, what has happened to like the civilized world that we can disagree with somebody? We could say, yeah, we disagree. We have some concerns.
Or you can just stop watching them.
Yeah. I just was like really turned off by the level of response. Like, I think some of it, yes, it was appropriate. The people that have been following, like, why are they deleting our comments every time we mention what's going on? But I felt like a lot of those people were capitalizing on the response to boost their own images and their own online profiles. So
you weren't buying the guy who was like doing the close-ups of her tear ducts to see if those were actual tears or not.
When there was diamonds coming out of her face in the video, and she's like, I'm going to be making an announcement, and there's diamonds coming out of my face. Like,
oh my God.
Yeah, I don't know. And then like we've talked before about like internet sleuths and online sleuths and when do they go too far. And I thought that part was interesting about how the internet sleuths were the ones that figured out like, oh, there was this video that was uploaded, deleted, and re-uploaded, and it was like 20 seconds different. What was out there? And they're all like, the duct tape.
Internet archive.
The duct tape.
Yeah. Toby, what did you think about that? The edited video internet sleuthing.
I got to say, like, the idea that you're just going to excoriate people about private things that you don't really, even though she's putting everything out there, I guess if you sign up to be a family vlogger and you're going to feature one of your kids and then like something happens and you're not upfront about it or whatever, I can see where that would get you some blowback. But the idea that these people are just going off about stuff that they must know that they don't understand what happened. It seems like in a lot of cases, they're just mostly pissed that they don't know, right? There's like, why didn't you tell me? Because there is a decent chance that they basically were in way over their head with a special needs kid and realized that they weren't going to be able to give this kid a good life for whatever reason and moved him on. And that was probably the right decision to make. And it doesn't necessarily reflect great on their parenting priorities or whatever. But as far as like giving Huxley at that point in his life a better chance of having his needs met and stuff, like that may have been the right choice to make. And they must have known the fucking blowback was going to come. I mean, they might not have realized it would have been that much.
They handled it very poorly, I think.
Yeah, but and it is interesting that they're so savvy in a lot of ways. You know, you hear a lot of content creators sort of talking about how they were kind of pioneers and they figured this different things out, but they seem like they're like really good in the best case scenarios. But when something like that happens, thinking that you're going to be able to kind of charm your way through or that people love you enough that they're going to give you a break, like that's just not the way this subculture seems to work. I had kind of mixed feelings about it. I think the problem was adopting a special needs kid in the first place for them. Like, I think that was bad. And she actually like kind of says like, I'm not going to talk to any more doctors about what the issues might be because Huxley is my son and I'm going to love him and all this stuff. It's like, yeah, maybe you should talk about the doctors just to make sure you know what you're getting into. But at the point at which he gets sent to a different place, like I'm not necessarily sure that that was the wrong choice at that point for him.
Yeah. I don't think you're wrong, Toby. And the documentary makes a good case of it. I mean, they bring in the couple who had to do the same thing. And she's very frank about it. I mean, there's a lot of issues too, also, Kevin, with this transnational adoption thing, period, which the documentary also gets into, that adoption is trauma for these children. I mean, that scene where he's taken away from his foster mother is heartbreaking. They were completely unprepared for that.
Yeah, no, the point being that this was a child who was like 2.5 or something like that. So not 6 or 7 where it's older, but they have the tools to sort of process, and not an infant. Someone who's already made an attachment to the foster parents. And I mean, this isn't even without consideration of their special needs and the way that they might be processing the world around them. I mean, just super traumatic. And then you're right, 3 years later, he's taken somewhere else that we don't know. But I really wasn't aware of this idea that sometimes the idea of the adoption fails. You know, we understand that some children are put up for adoption because there are severe issues that the birth parents don't think that they can handle, and the hope is that like the child will be adopted by someone who can handle it. And it really never occurred to me, and I don't think to most people, that maybe the adoptive parents also might think they can handle it, but they can't. And then with that comes this horrible shame. Like, you know, I know people that have adopted kids, and it's powerful and it's a great loving gift, and you know, it's not always perfect. But like in this case, it's not really a Myka Huxley tragedy. It's like a real human tragedy, because it's just, there's a part of the Stauffers where they had good intentions, but there's also this whole part about how much of this was done for the clicks. And that's the part that, you know, doesn't sit well with people.
Yeah.
No one really assumed that for the kid's no longer in the home. Nobody jumped to the conclusion like, oh, well, then maybe they had to find a different family for him. Everyone's like, no, he's dead in the backyard or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I am really torn here. And Laura, I know you have the same sort of question because, children are not dogs. And I would very much criticize somebody who adopted a dog and then gave that up too. And I know that happens. And I know and there are cases where, dogs might be dangerous or whatever. But a lot of people also give up dogs because they didn't realize how much work they were going to be or whatever. And I find that like abhorrent, like to not be prepared in that way. So I think what makes this so hard is that she has built her living off of being a mother and showing it to the world. That she already was doing this complicated and probably ill-advised transnational adoption, and that she then hid. She pretends to be transparent about everything in her life, and then she's the opposite of transparent about this, which is probably the right choice, right? But that being said, they were transparent about all of his health issues, all of his developmental delays, all of his medical appointments, like where they chose to draw lines and where they didn't, I think is the issue here that really gets us thinking, whether or not they giving him up was the right call, which I think there's a good case that it was as well. It's all the other stuff, right? That makes this so hard to not judge them for.
Yeah, I agree. I was thinking a lot about kids in like the foster care system and kids that will be placed with a family, and they may be with a family long term and think that family is going to adopt them. And then through whatever reason, that doesn't work out and they go to another foster home. And it's different because it hasn't already been permanently set. But it's the same concept of like kids that need homes and kids that are looking for a family, whether it's foster kids or kids that are being adopted. And I think in this case, you've got this woman who I did not connect to her. I was like, I didn't find her genuine in even like the pre-exit of Huxley videos. So I was already kind of like, this lady is kind of all about herself and look at me. And both of them, they were already doing this when they were like just dating. Like it was just their thing. Like, look at us. But I do also feel some empathy for her because I feel like she did get in over her head. She already had 3 kids? At that point?
For some people, there is such a thing as too many children.
Yeah. And I'm like, number one, I had a hard time juggling 1 kid. Now you've got 3 kids and you're adopting a child who you didn't realize had bonded with the foster mother that was taking care of him and had other issues. Like, in what life do you think you're going to be able to manage that?
And then she got pregnant when they were dealing with his issues.
Like, that was just too much. So I have empathy, but I also feel like, and I hate to say it because I feel like I do question some of the sincerity and some of the motivations. But at the same time, I think it was genuine that they did try and it was too much. And then they're like, oh, shit, how are we going to frame this? What are we going to do? And it was kind of like damage control at that point.
Yeah. Toby, there's something really interesting that happens in here that also reminds me of some things that have played out very close to us in the podcast industry, right? Where we meet this other mommy vlogger, the woman with the long dark hair, who's like really like into talking about her mommy vlog. She had started, Myka sort of noticed her. They became like online friends and like fellow mommy vloggers. And she really looked up to her and got a lot from that. And then when all this happened, she just like cut Myka off. Like that was it, right? Like she's like, I have to distance like a sponsor, distance myself as much from this as possible.
It's just heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking, the whole situation. I'm just curious, like when it all unfolded, did you reach out to Myka or had you been in touch? No, I never reached out to her and I feel really bad. I feel like I probably should have, but I was scared.
Doesn't that evoke you have to deal with things a certain way in order to not lose your own audience and that becoming the priority over interacting with people in a real way?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's her, it's all the sponsors. There's also, I thought one of the more interesting moments is when they're talking to that other family that Christian family, and they ask them about Myka, and the husband's like, be careful on this.
Did you follow what went down with the Stauffers?
I mean, maybe you can tell me a little about that story. And
just be careful. Be very careful.
I love that they showed that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I thought that was like one of the better moments of the whole thing. Again, like it's entertainment industry. And I think attaching yourself to somebody who rightly or wrongly has become toxic, I don't think that's a winning situation for somebody who's ambitious and trying to get, a bigger following. And there's a certain amount of just like wholesomeness that I think all these people kind of exude in their own ways. It's a business decision is what it is.
Yes, it's a business decision.
And to a certain extent, it's like, what was the basis of your friendship? Like, it seems like the basis of that
Also
friendship is also business. It's like, you're kind of mentoring me, and I like you because you're good at what you do and you're helping me out. But it didn't sound like they were like going out to dinner or doing vacations together or anything. It was just that kind of thing. And I mean, they both seem like they're sort of wealthy, attractive, upper class white women with, husbands who I guess are okay with being on camera all the time. She wears a lot of hats, or
she does,
or she maybe just wears one hat all the time. I couldn't tell.
I want to point out one thing about editorial decision that they made here, and it's how they deal with Huxley's image on screen. And, like typically with minors, if you don't have permission, signed permission slips from parents or whatever, they just blur out the face. And they did a lot of that.
Can I just hit you pause for a second? It was interesting because these minors are public figures on YouTube, yet the filmmakers chose to blur them out. A very interesting choice.
But what they did with Huxley is instead, you described it as like giving them the aha, take on me treatment where, there's sort of a scribble outline. And what's good about that is that with the art, that there's enough there to certainly mask his identity, but enough that we can sort of get to see a face and some emotion while still protecting that identity. And it also made him visually special on the screen, not just like another one of the kids. Really drew your eye to him and to focus on his world and his perspective through this lens. So they don't erase him, neither literally nor figuratively. I thought it was a really smart choice.
Last year, Americans ate 32 billion chicken wings. Who knows just how many helpless sides of celery were heartlessly thrown away? But this year, celery neglect can stop with you and irresistible Jif peanut butter. Because you can make a snack to make a difference. You can buy a jar of Jif to save the celery. So please, don't let celery be decoration for wings. Tap the banner to save the celery.
Now streaming on Hulu, a wicked true crime.
It was a kidnapping, torture case.
A crime of greed and cruelty.
The men tortured the victim by beating, tasing, and burning him.
But it didn't end there.
And this is where it gets really horrible. The guy was cutting off my roommate's penis. It was like a bad dream.
This crime was horrific.
He's a psychopath.
Wicked Game, Devil in the Desert.
This was a story about greed, sadism, evil.
Now streaming only on Hulu.
If you like the words food, football, and 40% off, then Instacart has the perfect big game deal for you. Right now on the Instacart app, you can get $10 off a $25 order of eligible game day essentials like chips, dips, sips, and chicken strips. So what are you waiting for? Free snacks with your order? Because, yeah, Instacart has those too. Fees, taxes, and terms apply. Eligible items only while supplies last. Expires on February 9th.
All right, let's do what we do. Let's let our listeners know, should they check out the HBO original documentary series and update on our family? Laura Bricker, thumbs up or thumbs down for an update on our family?
I'm going to go mild thumbs up on this. This was something that I hadn't heard about. I didn't really think that the family mommy vlogging thing was still actually a current thing, because I think back to blogging, which is not really a thing anymore. And I thought this case was interesting because it had a lot of different perspectives of people that had followed it, people that had connected with it. And I think it also tried to stay balanced at the end and showed the other side to this, which we hadn't heard much about prior to that because of the reaction people had to this story as it was unfolding. This isn't something that I would be like, oh yeah, I'm going to seek this out because I want to know about mommy vloggers. But I was like, oh, it's kind of interesting. And I think it also kind of gives pause for like where we are in society in terms of where do we get our content and how do we follow media and what kind of media do we follow and how do we form connections with people? And I think it really comes down to like, we're all sort of seeking connection, and especially parents who are at home with their kids are seeking connection. And it might not be possible outside their house, so they're finding it online. And I think this story and what happened with this story is just a really good example of how that can go kind of off the rails. So mild thumbs up from me.
Toby Ball, thumbs up or thumbs down for an update on our family?
Yeah, so in some ways I feel like I'd like to like download this onto like a thumb drive and put it in a time capsule that somebody will open in like 75 years as like indicative of how fucking weird we are right now.
What is this thumb drive thing?
Yeah. Oh man, this is so 2020s. I think there's a lot of interesting stuff that comes up in this. One thing we didn't talk in the main review is that it absolutely freaking screeches to a complete halt for almost the entire last episode. I couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. So I don't know. I guess I'm a mild thumbs up. I thought parts of it were very thought provoking, and I think there's some pretty good commentary, but not really original commentary. I think it's transporting to a slightly different situation, things we already kind of knew about online behavior, but they're transporting it to this weird family vlog situation. But you see all of the sort of narcissism and backlash and ugliness and the whole spread of sort of online stuff, but put in this one little subculture. So I'm kind of a mild thumbs up. The best parts were really good. At least a third of it I thought was just super disappointing. So anyway, that's where I kind of fall.
Kevin Flynn.
I'm also a mild thumbs up. I thought this was an interesting topic. The main story was, a bit of a mystery, and it didn't turn out the way that I thought it was going to go. But I did learn quite a bit about the industry and, certainly the thoughts about, okay, well, what is privacy in the home? What kind of privacy do your children deserve if you're going to make them part of the circus act? And that's something that, we've dealt with in our own lives here to some extent when you are a broadcaster or a podcaster or another public figure. They touched on a lot of different topics. It did move a little slow. So for that, I can't put this at the top of my list for the year so far, although there's not a lot of stuff on the top of my list. So I guess
it's a short list.
It's kind of sitting there. It's up there right now, but it will probably slide down. It's an interesting look at this topic and about the ethics around it and the commentary about where we are as an online society and that how hell hath no fury like a bad mom on the internet. God bless the internet for all of its hot takes and for telling us exactly how we should parent. And you're right. If you do something wrong on the internet after giving hundreds and hundreds of hours of yourself doing mundane stuff, it's hard to bounce back from that. Also, what's the motivation of these people? Do they really just adopt a kid to get the clicks? It's kind of up to you to decide. Mild thumbs up.
Yeah, I'm giving this a strong thumbs up. I loved it. I thought it was super interesting. I loved the many, many perspectives that were in here and the many questions that were answered. Almost every time something was raised, I'd be like, oh, they're not going to address this thoughtfully. And then they did. They really dug into transnational adoption. They dug into all of the ethics of everything. They dug into why you are being a snob if you are completely deriding people who enjoy this content, which I super liked. I super liked it that they showed how normal this vlogging consumption is and vlogging making is and how common it is and how lucrative it is and why people do it. And they sort of demystified it in a really great way. The talking head they have, Hannah Cho, who sort of explains all that stuff, is fantastic. And I really felt like if somebody were to explain why they've listened to our podcast for 10 years because they feel like they have a relationship with us, it's not that different from her explaining why she was so into this vlog because she felt like she had a relationship with these people. And I was just like, this is illuminating and lovely. And also, frankly, it's a very juicy fucking story. So for all of those reasons and more, I really, really liked an update on our family. So big thumbs up for me. That's going to do it for us. But before we go, Laura Bricker, do we have a cat of the week this week?
So this cat of the week comes to us from Jessica Bowman on our official Crime Writers On discussion group. And I just loved the picture. There's 1, 2, 3 owls looking in an office window.
Ooh, it's an owl.
And Jessica says, Owls were born on my colleague's windowsill a few weeks ago, and I just can't even.
Oh my God, they're fledglings.
And they're looking in the window.
That's what our owls used to do when they're around. They look right through the window at Kevin doing his work. Or
do they
look
really?
Right oh, yeah.
Oh.
Talk about street toughs.
Yeah, they are. Kevin has this incredible video of this owl staring right at him from the power line right outside his office. They're really curious about what we're doing in our house.
Yeah, it was super interesting. So I love the picture. Thanks for sending it in.
It's like we have a family vlog just for owls.
So yeah, we are their family vlog, yes.
We are, yeah. They're like, what are the humans doing today? What are those people inside doing today? Oh, Kevin is doing the laundry.
That's right. Kevin is sitting at his computer with his headphones on for 9 hours. Let's watch that. All right, Laura Bricker, if folks want to reach out to you to submit any kind of animal, theirs or someone else's, to be Cat of the Week, how can they find you online?
You can find me at Laura Bricker on Blue Sky and Instagram, and you can follow some of my adventures there.
What about you, Toby? If folks want to introduce you to a whole new subculture that you might not know about, how can they find you online?
I'm at Toby Ball NH on Blue Sky.
What about you, Kevin?
I'm at Kevin P. Flynn, just about everywhere.
Yeah, you can follow me everywhere. Instagram, Blue Sky. Yeah, I'm still on Twitter, for the gossip, at Reb Lavoie. Follow the show everywhere at Crime Writers On, but Laura mentioned it. I really encourage you to join our Facebook group. It's so good. People who have quit Meta completely are still in our Facebook group for that one product because they like it so much. Really, it's just look for the group. Look for us on Facebook. There's a link on top of our page to join the group. Get episodes early and ad-free and everything else we make for Patreon at patreon.com/Partners in Crime Media. Our theme song was composed and performed by Tyler Gibbons. Our editor is the wonderful Livy Burdett. The EP of this show is Kevin. This show was recorded in Studio C, the closet in our New Hampshire basement, where we also monetize aspects of our family life. So who the fuck are we to judge? On behalf of all the crime writers, thanks so much for listening. We will catch you later. Oh, sorry, I've got beef jerky breath.
You have beef jerky breath?
Beef jerky and
root
root
beer?
beer?
You gave me shit about my chili breath?
The sausages I bought in the wrappers?
What are you doing this for? What is that?
What is the sausages I bought?
You bought a sausage,
what
huh?
in
Okay.
God's name is
we gotta
happening?
keep going. We're on a timer.
Oh my God. I'm traumatized.
Oh, it pauses it?
Yeah, it pauses it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Start it again.
Yeah, I bought these
Hold it down for 3 seconds.
Yes. So I bought these sausages, like like jerky style sausages, at and there was I bought 2 huge packages of them.
Can you just
like,
keep
when are
your
you gonna eat
hands? Just keep your hands still.
They're shaped
and
like
tell
this,
the
Toby.
story.
Oh God.
You wonder why we can't do a mommy vlog?
Yeah. Oh my God. Can you imagine?
All right, should we get going?
I hope so.
All right. Where were we?
In crime media.
Last year, Americans ate 32 billion chicken wings. Who knows just how many helpless sides of celery were heartlessly thrown away? But this year, celery neglect can stop with you and irresistible Jif peanut butter. Because you can make a snack to make a difference. You can buy a jar of Jif to save the celery. So please, don't let celery be decoration for wings. Tap the banner to save the celery.